to Thought Cops, the only podcast where every week we police the mean streets of the internet because, hey, somebody's got to do it. And then we let you be the judge, the jury, and the executioner in the court of public opinion. Coming to you live from Neo Chicago, I am Officer Kevin.
And I am the Granch yet again. The Christmas cretin.
I was just thinking about that bit you did 2 years ago when you first introduced the Granch.
Yeah.
And then you
when I
hit
wrote
that
the
song.
Yeah.
And I remember it was so funny, and I laughed a lot.
Yeah. I had to throw that chair out that you pissed in.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
It was too funny.
Yeah, sometimes
let me tell you.
Yeah, things do go a little bit too far.
Hey, that's all's fair in comedy and
war,
podcasting.
Love, and podcasting. Also, folks at home, I just want to say, if you're not watching this on youtube.com/thoughtcops,
You're goofing up.
You're missing out because we got a nice new setup. We got some microphone stands.
It's looking better every week.
We got a wonderful new webcam donated to us by the wonderful Dr. Peppercorn. We were doing some Twitch
Key to the
streaming
city to him.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Peppercorn. So yeah, we'll take it from there. I want to give a warm welcome to a returning champion to this fine show, Ken Bone. How are you, Ken?
Really happy to be. I'm really happy to be back. I do not have a better setup. I have my basement with all of this shit behind me, and my laptop balanced on top of an old bass amp that I am not sure still works.
Well, we're just happy to see your bright and shining face just as much as America was back in the 2016 elections. Remember that, Grant?
No.
It was a long time ago.
I've blocked it out.
Ken, part of the reason we asked you back on the show, actually, is because we did a listen back recently to our very first episode from the beginning of 2017. So this is like over 200 episodes ago. And believe it or not, you were the first topic that we brought up on the show within the first 2 minutes. And we didn't even realize it until like 2 weeks ago.
Until the listen back, yeah.
We listened back to it.
It was like reasons why we started the show. Number one, Ken Bone. And it was just like, and then for us to have you on, it felt like a full circle sort of thing. You know, It felt like the circle was complete. You were there from the beginning. You eventually came on. You'll probably be there when both of us die.
I hope so too. Standing over our bodies, possibly. No, I don't want to take the show in that dark angle.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, we're having fun. So Ken, I feel like even since the last time we had you on the show, which is a little bit over a year ago, a lot has changed. Because at that time, we were in the middle of the 2020 elections. And I want to ask you, do you feel like much has changed since then? Or do you think we're about at the same place, if not possibly even worse?
I think the only thing that has changed is that people seem to hate each other even more. It's unbelievable to me that we took something as straightforward as a bunch of people getting sick and millions of people dying and turned that into more goddamn politics. Like we don't have enough politics.
Everything is political now. Everything is political. Now, I would say, I think that we were all hoping for a big change. And I mean, like I think there have been like some small changes here and there behind the scenes, but like every day now, it's like you just kind of wake up and you're like, well, we'll see what happens today. Give it the old college try, see what happens. And you go to bed and you're like, well, I gave it the old college try to see what happens. And here we are once again, another day. But do you feel...
if you want a big change, then electing somebody who's been in politics for longer than any of the three of us have been alive might not have been the best move.
I'm thinking that was that might have had something to do with it.
Yeah. Do you ever like just get tired of just like existence?
Everything
all the time.
Yeah, I'm almost 40. That tends to happen as your body starts to break down, especially. I just turned 39 a couple of months ago, my last birthday ever, and I'm not sure if that's like one of those jokes like, never turned in 40, never admitting it, or if I actually will have a freaking brain aneurysm before next September.
I was going to say that could have been a grim premonition here. You heard it, folks. You heard it here on Thought Cops first, folks.
I mean, I feel like we've talked a lot recently on the show about like, I think both of us, or you're what, 31, Kevin?
Yes.
And I just turned 30, and I feel like that's been like a sobering moment where it's like, oh, I'm like an adult now. Like, this is depressing.
Yeah, you moved into adult grade 2, where if you sleep in your parents' house for too many nights in a row, it's no longer considered cute.
Yeah. Unfortunately so. But yeah, so we're having you back on. Obviously, you're here. We're here. This is the show. I feel like the response to you being on the last episode that you were on was overwhelmingly positive.
Yes.
Some people saying the best episode of Thought Cops ever. Some people saying the greatest episode of any podcast ever.
That is true.
That is probably true. I've been on dozens of podcasts.
Yeah.
But, this is the best one. Obviously,
Thank
something
you.
that I have been on is going to be the best. And since this is the best podcast, that automatically elevates it. Like, I was on with Brett Weinstein one time.
Oh,
and
really?
he's like, oh, a big deal, intellectual dark web or whatever.
Sure.
Holy shit, that's boring. He wanted to talk about real stuff the whole time. That was hard.
That
So
sucks.
this is way better.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be getting into some not so serious topics later on, but that's just, the life, the culture we live in.
We have to put that in like our Twitter bio as like our tagline, like better than the Brett Weinstein podcast.
Shrug shoulders. Why not? So yeah, I mean, we talked last time, and again, I don't want to rehash everything because if you didn't listen to the last episode, you missed out. Just go ahead and listen to that one too, because this is the sequel. We talked to you last time about your rise to your 15 minutes of fame, so to speak, when you had that moment on TV with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and
Everyone's favorite characters,
right? You just it was your whole persona, like the energy you were emitting. I think simply your name, Ken Bone. I think something about the whole package just really resonated with so many people, and you became a living, breathing meme. And to the even like I think we mentioned a little bit last time too, to the extent that we knew people who were dressing up as you for Halloween.
One of my roommates did.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I was in your position, I might think the same thing.
And I mean, I know I was listening not soon after you were on our show. You were on one of our friends' show. Drink a beer, do a podcast.
Drink a beer, play a game.
Drink a beer, play a game.
I remember that one. That was a great one.
Their Power Hour podcast. They're great guys. And I know you mentioned like hating the red sweater, and like when you said something along the lines of like, when people want you to wear it, you're like, do you want to interview me or do you want to interview like a cartoon character? And like, how it's been a couple years now, since that moment on TV. How weird is it to think that cartoon character is in a way you, and that like, how much distance do you feel, like how much of a relationship do you feel with the idea that people sort of place upon you versus like how you actually feel like you embody like what so many people saw in you, I
think there's a complete disconnect because most people either view me as like, the horrible evil guy that the New York Post said I was because they like digging through people's internet history,
right? Or
as some kind of paragon and super nice guy. I'm just like a regular dude who kind of has a temper and gets tired of shit sometimes, and I don't feel like always going to work, and then I get home and, I got an 18-year-old kid who's a senior in high school, so that's its own drama. And it's just like anybody else, any other out-of-shape middle-aged guy. That's the real me. And then the perceptions of me, they just don't feel real. So when I see like, videos with me in them or whatever, I'm like, that's not even me.
Right. And I want to go on record and I'm going to say I prefer Ken with the gray t-shirt than the red sweatshirt because this is authentic Ken Bone, the real Ken Bone.
Yeah, this is from my work uniform. It is it's fire retardant and everything.
How about that?
That's basically tech wear, folks.
Yeah, it's safe as shit.
I do feel like though that as time sort of goes on as it does, And as some of these cycles play out, and especially with some of the more depressing aspects of modern day culture in America, I do feel like every time I see you come up in any sort of way, there's almost sort of like more of an appreciation for like that aspect of like what you're talking about, you know, like that distance of like what the internet sort of like has portrayed you as versus like really how you feel about that. Like, for instance, I was watching that, the New Yorker documentary that they put out, I think actually a month before we had you on last year. Somehow I missed it, but it was like a very touching, sort of sobering thing to watch. And I was like really sort of surprised by like going through and reading the comments on the YouTube channel about how people were like, yeah, we not only need Ken Bone, but we need more of like the real Ken Bone. Like you're sort of like grappling with this character and like how that's sort of like a reflection of like what people actually want out of society versus what they're getting with like this over memification and how everything's sort of like commodified and something like that. And I do feel like there is part of that aspect to you that has tapped into a lot more people than maybe any of us realize.
Yeah, there are a lot of folks out there that see me for what I really am, which is just like a real thoughtful human being, which I appreciate quite a bit. And the filmmaker that made that documentary, her name's Savannah Guthrie. It is easily my favorite project that I've ever been involved with through all of this. She did a phenomenal job.
It was very good.
And I feel like the story that she told on screen is exactly the story I was trying to tell in all of her interviews and chats with me, not just the ones on camera. So I don't feel like, you know, a lot of filmmakers tend to do, whether they do it consciously or not, can like twist things or make a different narrative out of what they shoot. I don't feel like she did that at all. She did an amazing job, and she's just a really, really nice young lady. She was a lot of fun to work with. Her dad is actually, what's his name? Mr. It's not like Mr. Terrific or something like the guy from Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful.
Sure.
Yeah, he's. But she never told me that. I didn't find that out until later. So she wasn't like trying to play off of her dad's fame or money or anything. She was trying to legitimately make a go of a filmmaking career.
Sure. She wasn't name dropping anybody like, oh, guess who we had on our podcast? Ken Bone, heard of him? But I also want to ask you, too, that obviously, like you mentioned last time, things were crazy for you for a while when you were being sort of, a lot of people were approaching you. They wanted you in this project. They wanted to talk to you about that thing, this topic, that topic. Do you feel over time, especially now that we're, you know, past the 2016 elections, past the 2020 elections, do you feel like things have sort of normalized for you, kind of going back to where they were before that to some extent?
Oh, for sure. The only thing that I really still keep up with, like Ken Bone fame wise, I'm still on Cameo, and I get booked for, you know, like a half dozen cameos a week. Cameo is a really cool service. I always thought it was kind of wild. And when I explain to people what it is, they're like, they give you money for that? I'm like, yeah, some random person wants me to tell their fantasy football opponent that he sucks, and they give me $20. I'm like,
you can't say no to that kind of work, you know? Doesn't get easy.
Yeah, I can do that all day. There's a bunch of like, you know, legit big stars on there that do it.
Yeah.
And some of them make absolute bank. Like I make a decent side hustle money off of it. But they make huge money. There's a couple guys in the WWE that say they wrestle on the side and their real money is working on Cameo.
That's insane.
That is wild. Like I knew it paid well enough for people who are famous, but to the point that it can actually replace your main gig as a source of income.
Yeah, the thing that you're known for isn't making you the money anymore. It's the other thing.
Which, I mean, like, I guess it's nice in a way because you're engaging with the fans, the people who really love your stuff the most. And it's like it's one-on-one. Like like our friend Slime got a cameo for his birthday the other day.
Oh, yeah.
From Robert Picardo, I think it was. And it was just like cool because it's like the guy was like, he seemed like it wasn't just phoning it in. He was going through and talking about, oh, you like this movie I was in? Oh, that's really cool. You know, I wouldn't expect it from someone your age and stuff like that. So I've never bought a cameo yet. but the idea of it is very interesting. And that's cool. You're still getting mileage out of that after however long too.
Yeah, it's pretty much the only thing I still do. I got a couple of friends in local radio that I go on with every once in a while, but at this point, I've known them for so long and I've been on so many times, it's mostly because they just think I'm a fun guest. It's like only tangentially related to
sure,
the old Ken Bone stuff. So most of that is back to normal. I almost never get recognized in public anymore, which is fine by me. So most of that insanity is over with.
Are you still doing the Bone Zone podcast?
Yeah, I ended up putting it on the shelf. I haven't done it for a while. It was really just like an excuse for me and my good buddy from high school to do something together. But he graduated with his master's degree, and he is too busy now. He has like a real big boy job and all that. An adopted kid and two teenagers, and a baby. So he can't really keep up with the podcast. I'm like, well, I don't really want to do it without him.
Yeah, too busy to podcast. Couldn't be me.
Couldn't be me.
Couldn't
either.
imagine.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say the thing about like you're not really getting recognized too much anymore or anything like that. One thing that I thought was interesting in the documentary, like, do you ever feel like you sort of like miss that aspect in a certain sort of way? Because I know you said something along the lines of like, there's this huge sort of mental toll that comes with that sort of like meteoric rise to stardom, or I guess meteors really fall more than they rise. I guess maybe that's sort of inherently part of the definition.
Where do they come from?
Where do meteors come from?
Very much so. There's
right.
Magnets. How do they work? But really,
you.
it's definitely like that. Because like I've been in stadiums before where they'll put me up on the jumbotron and 20,000 people will start going out of their mind and screaming and cheering for me instead of for like the sporting event or the concert or whatever. And that is addictive. There's a reason why people who were on TV in the 80s, now they degrade themselves by going on, and doing guest bits on these like clip shows of, America's Funniest Home Videos ripoffs where Danny Bonaducci will make fun of some guy falling and busting his ass.
Right. They're chasing that high.
Feel like they have to be in the limelight.
Right.
Yeah, and for some of those folks, I really feel for them because, especially if you were like a child star, what did you ever learn to do other than be an actor? And then you got typecast, and then you got addicted to Coke or whatever, and became a parody of yourself. And what can you do? Can you go work at UPS? And then everybody at UPS knows that you're Danny Partridge and they give you shit every day? That'd be awful. So it's like the only option available to folks in that situation.
I mean, I'm surprised we're actually not talking more about like how addicting the dopamine hits can be, especially nowadays, because like the behaviors and actions that do get reinforced by literally anybody now, because anybody can be on social media and you could say the dumbest shit or say whatever, and if you get that like thrill of like, oh, people are looking at me and like and like patting me on the back, and I don't know who all these people are and I've never had anything like this before, it's this is awesome, and then you don't get that and you're like, well, I'm addicted to that thrill and how good it made me feel.
Right.
How do I do that again? And you just double down on whatever it was that made you in that place and like, to begin with.
Yeah. And I do feel like
looking and seeing like that you've got thousands of likes on Twitter or whatever. What does that mean in the real world? Absolutely nothing, except that it makes you feel good. It activates, dopamine receptors in your brain, and you're like, I just got to keep doing it. And yeah, I feel kind of fortunate that I didn't get sucked into that for life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, again, another topic that relates to this is just we're not talking about the responsibility that would come with that. Like, I think it's important because, and I've heard people speak out on this before too, who they reach a certain level of success and then maybe like, it seeps into their personal life. It affects their actions and stuff. And just the fact, like people who is like no one was telling them no for however long, and how they just sort of had to humble themselves or ground themselves to reality in some sort of way, because it's like, it feels like so necessary, and it's just not something that's being talked about. So
yeah, I feel like sort of in addition to what you're saying, it's like there's no real with the internet the way that it is, in terms of like just anybody can do anything and get known for anything at any point for any reason. Like, one, no one's really prepared to deal with that. Nothing prepares you for it, to be sort of in the fray of all this and to like have all this attention and stuff like that, which is like a lot of times we do the show that we do and stuff like that. And it's like, I do feel like there's an aspect to me that's like, I don't want to be too hard on certain people, because it's like most of us have not been in that position where it's like 800,000 people on the internet fucking hate you for no reason.
And that's something I think that we've at least tried to bring a little bit of light to with the show, where there are those people who they're, quote unquote, easy to dunk on because they're,
right.
They're rich and they're famous and stuff. And yeah, there is an aspect of that that's like inherently shitty, but they are people. And then you have to understand that they have these same, like, responses in their brain to these moments of success and thrill and everything that's tied to it.
Well, and then
like Chrissy Teigen, we've talked about, is a good example of
right,
that, where she's been bullied off Twitter so many times. And yeah, she says some dumb stuff, but I mean, like,
and continues to, but like still, and I think
she says incredibly dumb, out of touch things, but I try not to dunk on folks like that too hard either.
Right.
Because I've had like the tiniest 1% of a taste of what it's like to be them just for a minute. And a lot of those folks got into it when they were really young. And like Ariana Grande, when she licked a donut, like it was probably like 4 years ago.
Right.
Just imagine that you've been a child star and people have been heaping money onto you. And, since you were like 16 and your brain was still part jelly.
Right.
Most kids are worried about who they're going to take to the prom. You're worried about finding an investment advisor for the $6 million record deal you just got and hoping that your parents don't steal the money or what the hell ever. Your problems are on a whole different plane of existence. And then you have a bunch of sycophants around you who will never tell you no and never tell you anything you're doing is a bad idea for a couple of decades. You're just completely disconnected from real life at that point.
Yeah, and I feel like sort of like more to the point, no one prepares you for that, but no one prepares you for like the aftermath of that either. And like there's a quote from you in this documentary. Once you realize that your time is over, you have this thought in your head your whole life. Is this really all there is to life? Getting up, going to work, coming home, eating dinner, watching reruns, going to sleep. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that again for forever. That really hit me, because there's times where like I've felt that, where it's like we have sort of like a high with the podcast, or like I have a TikTok video that takes off, or like whatever it is, like where it's just like, oh, this was really successful. This works. This makes me feel good. And then like this constant need for validation afterwards. That's like me trying to grip onto every single aspect of reality that is leaning me in that direction, and almost sort of like nervously clawing at it and just being like, holy shit, I need this again. I need this more. And like, I think that that's like, to a large extent, like why you're sort of, seeing more of this sort of positive resurgence of like, oh, I'm glad he's speaking about this in the way that he's speaking about it. Because like, I think a lot of people are going through that, because I do think that the internet just fucks with everyone's heads in like a very bad way.
I agree. Because you have the people who...
Oh, definitely. I have a speech that I do when I go tour around schools and stuff, which before COVID, I did. The speech that I give is about empathy and how it is very difficult to have empathy through a screen. Even though you guys look as real as you could possibly look through the screen, I can see your faces and everything. Most of the time when you're interacting with somebody through a screen, it's just pixels. It's just words, and it's maybe a clip taken out of context or something. and it's hard to regard those people as real human beings. And so it's very difficult to have real human empathy for them. And as soon as you turn off the empathy switch for all your screens, it starts getting less and less easy to turn it back on for the real humans in your life. And it's a serious problem that we're only beginning to see the effects of, because we're only really in like the second or third online generation. You know, we're seeing the first generation, like my kid who grew up with this from infancy, basically. It's going to be a very weird sociology experiment. And as far as like chasing the high of recognition and validation, like any other high experience, it gets less and less intense every time. The first time I had to fly somewhere to shoot a commercial, I was like over the moon. It was the coolest thing I had ever done. I was flying off to, a different city. People were paying big money to have a crew of camera people around me. And oh my God, this is so great. By the 10th time I had done something like that, I was asleep on the airplane. And as that, for people that do that for a living, it just goes on and on and on and on. It's routine.
Sure.
It's like clocking into work every morning. If you guys ever heard of Dan Bongino, the guy, he's
I want to be like Dan Bongino.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he's like he's like a professional gambler. And
is he really? I know he's like a political guy.
Oh no, wait. I'm saying the wrong last name. Dan Bongino is the guy. Dan Bongino is the guy from
Dan
NRA TV. Yeah, Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah.
Dan Bongino is a totally different guy. He's a political talking head.
Yeah.
Dan Bilzerian, the professional gambler and former Navy SEAL, or at least Navy SEAL applicant, depending on who you ask for the story.
Right.
He's got $1 bajillion and a yacht and the perfect body and hot supermodels that he does coke off of their tits and whatever, any experience he wants, and he's miserable. The dude is always miserable. And he explained it really well. I think it was on Joe Rogan's podcast once, that when you're middle class and you and your wife dress up in your nicest clothes and go out for your anniversary to a restaurant that you normally can't afford, and you saved up a couple weeks for it, what an incredible experience to have tablecloths and napkins and, servers and busboys and people wiping off the crumbs. It's something you barely get to do. If he wanted to, he could fly to Paris to have lunch and then to Sydney to have dinner. So where's the novelty? Where's the experience that he wouldn't otherwise get to have? And it was like a lot of people were like, oh, boo-hoo, you're a bajillionaire and you get to have all these experiences. But when and he is a douchebag, don't get me wrong. When you look at it from that perspective, there is no possible novelty left in his life. There is no experience he could ever have that's going to reach the high that he used to have when it first started. That's a bleak way to exist.
I would say so. I mean, I'm still sitting here eating my meals. Nobody's wiping the crumbs off my table. I'm still eating off filth, and I'm loving it. I don't want to be like that. Got nowhere else to go.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
But it's like,
yeah, I'm a lot sadder now. So,
yeah, I come onto the podcast 40 minutes late, and then I bring everybody down. What a jerk.
We'll steer this ship back on some kind of bullshit soon.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I just want to end with this this YouTube comment that I saw on the comment section of the documentary, which again I have to say was overwhelmingly positive. I think that a lot of people got a lot of positivity out of that. Like you said, it was a very well filmed piece of art. It got out what you wanted out of it. It really sort of hit the right tone. And this username Louis Armstrong said, Ken is the ultimate average American middle classer. Looks at screens all day, down at the old power plant. A more responsible Homer Simpson. Has a 5-bedroom house with a mortgage under $1,000 a month. I don't know where he got this information. Yeah. He never worries about food or finance and knows what unit price is. He probably makes Facebook posts about going to Costco. And it was like...
Is that about accurate, Ken?
Well, I don't use Facebook, and my house only has 4 bedrooms, and my mortgage is a little more than that, but it is strikingly accurate.
I saw that and it couldn't not crack me up. That was just like the perfect YouTube comment, I feel like.
We found it. The perfect
we
YouTube
found
comment.
it.
Well,
Speaking
a YouTube
of
comment section that's not just a cesspool, that's an accomplishment in itself.
that is very true.
Yeah,
I was going to say, you mentioned YouTube comments and I was starting to get nervous.
No
like, oh,
slurs.
Man, what is it going to be this time?
Not a single slur to be seen.
Speaking of YouTube comments, so on YouTube, like I said, you can follow us over at youtube.com/thoughtcops. All the video episodes go up on there. We also have been posting a lot of highlight clips and moments from the show, moments from our Twitch stream. A lot of fun stuff on there. I've been editing some stuff and really just honestly like sitting in my editing bay and just laughing so hard at some of the shit I've been putting back up. Just taking
Family Guy clips.
Taking some trips down memory lane. You know, it's a good time. So yeah, definitely follow us on YouTube if you don't already. And like I mentioned earlier, we are streaming over at twitch.tv/thoughtcops.
Once a week, probably on Wednesday. I don't know. It's not a promise. It's a self-obligation.
Yeah, but it's been fun to get back into streaming because we fell out of it for a while. We were really into it during the lockdown. Things opened up. Now we're like, you know, starting to kind of return to that because it's a cool way to just like hang out with the people who listen to the show and like play some games, watch YouTube videos, play some.
Right.
You were playing some Flash games yesterday. It's a lot of fun.
Bloons Tower Defense 3.
So yeah, check it out and definitely follow us on there if you haven't already because like I said, we're going to try to commit to doing that.
At least once a week.
At least once a week. Yeah. But let us move on to a very famous, very favorite segment of the show called 2 Minutes of Hate, where we like to blanket punish all that annoying random crap that I see on my phone every time I open it, every time I look on my computer screen. I'm sitting there, I'm thinking I got some content for the show. I'm getting pissed. I'm getting angry. Now, I got a 2 Minutes of Hate this week that I think is going to be a little bit controversial, actually. My 2 Minutes of Hate this week is Letterboxd. You familiar with this website, Ken? Letterboxd.com. It's like a film review site. You can make an account, post you can rate movies, post reviews of movies, everything you see, log it all.
I have not used it, but I am familiar with it.
Sure. And then Grant, you don't have an account down there, do you?
No. I don't need more, like Ken mentioned about like too many platforms. Like I don't need more platforms, you know?
Right. And like
too many things.
I got back into it somewhat recently because it's kind of like a nice way to make a watch list, keep track of all the movies you want to see that's not dedicated to any specific streaming platform. And then, you know, it's kind of fun to rate stuff and like log stuff. But then I was like thinking, I feel like it kind of ruins the viewing experience in some way because, and like, don't get me wrong, I love like seeking out new stuff all the time. And I have a list of like all different kinds of media that I want to get to, but it does feel a little bit like homework when you feel like you're just crossing things off of a list. Yeah.
I did that I printed out the American film industry's like top 100 films of all time. And I remember in college, I was like, let me watch every single movie that's supposed to be the good movie. And I like got through the first 10 and I was like, I don't want to watch any more fucking movies from the 40s. I hate this.
And I mean, it's like, it is a cool way, like I said, to experience stuff and you can see what your friends are watching.
Sure.
Like, I don't
it's like Goodreads for movies.
Yeah. I don't, I think Luke Taylor put up something once. He said it's like Goodreads for dumb people.
Yeah, that's good.
And I was like thinking about it because I was starting to get a little bit more active on there. I was logging the movies I was watching, and a lot of people will post their reviews right after they watch the movie. And a lot of people are trying to be on there being funny. You know, they want to get like, I want to have the funny review.
I'm going to screenshot this and toss it on Twitter.
Exactly. And like, I was like sitting around, I was watching like, I don't know, like fucking like Demolition Man or something. And I was like thinking of what I was going to say on Letterboxd after the movie was over, instead of just like enjoying the movie and letting it wash over me.
Right.
And I feel like that's not just a Letterboxd thing necessarily, but it's just sort of like a social media thing in general, where I understand that there are people who are like movie critics, music critics, whatever. But just as a casual viewer, it feels like when you're thinking of like, oh, what funny thing am I going to say about Speed when I'm done watching it? It just like I'm not really into that. I just kind of want to.
It just feels like everything's commodified now. Every single thing has to be like, I need to make a post. Everything is content. You need to diversify your content. It needs to be on different platforms. There needs to be different types of content. You need your opinion on everything at all times on all different platforms.
And I'm scrolling through Letterboxd and I'm seeing all the reviews people are putting up in the movies that they've been watching. And I'm thinking to myself, like, they were probably, again, having similar thoughts of, I'm watching this movie. What am I going to say? I can't wait to put up my hilarious, like, 2-sentence review of this movie and get however many likes from it. You know, again, going back to the whole dopamine addiction, where you just want to let something wash over you sometimes and then just turn that part of your brain off because it is so exhausting. And I was also thinking in a similar vein of how I hear a lot of people who talk about how they love going to see movies in movie theaters more often because their reasoning is, oh, I like it because I can't look at my phone. They like being forced to not look at their phone because if you look at your phone at the movie theater, you'll be publicly shamed and scolded by the teenagers and the elderly who work there. And I agree with them too. It's like the movie theater is one of the few places where you can't look at your phone or you're not supposed to.
It's literally a safe space.
Exactly. So I don't know, Ken, does that resonate with you at all? Do you ever feel like you're like checking your phone too much and you're almost seeking out these opportunities where you can't look at it? Or do you feel like you got a better grasp of like, okay, I've checked Twitter for the day, I've checked whatever for the day, I've looked at my email, I'm going to put it away?
No, I absolutely get what you mean. I have to consciously put my phone someplace where I can't reach it to keep it out of my freaking hand. Even when I'm watching something that I really want to engage with. Like right now, I really love the book series, The Wheel of Time. And Amazon just put out their adaptation. Episodes are coming out every week of The Wheel of Time. And it is, depending on who you ask, it's either okay or it is horrible. There's not really very many people saying that it's awesome. I'm kind of in the okay camp. But the whole time I'm watching the episode that came out today, when I was supposed to be logged in to Discord and doing this podcast, and I forgot that it was today. I watched the first 40 minutes of this week's episode, and I'm thinking like, oh, they changed this, they changed this, they changed this. I cannot wait to get on the Wheel of Time subreddit and just have a freaking hate boner for all of these changes from the books. And then all of a sudden I realized like, oh, I missed an entire scene. I now need to rewind it to watch it to see if I hate that too.
I'm right there with you too. And like, don't get me wrong. Again, it's nice to vent with people. Like, you know, there's like some camaraderie, like there's a community around it. Like even like Letterboxd, there's like, you know, you can meet people on there. You can, you know, see your friends and what they're watching and then you can watch what they watched. But again, like you said, like I find myself more than ever, like my attention span feels so bad and I have to go back and rewind stuff, even if I'm not even looking at my phone, because I was like thinking about what I was going to say about the thing I'm watching to, you know, whatever stupid social media platform there is. And it's just like, I don't like it. It's exhausting.
Do you ever wonder if that's where like bad takes keep coming from? If like the reason why so many people have so many bad takes about media nowadays is just because everyone's thinking about the take instead of like absorbing the movie into their head.
And everybody wants to be different. They got to have like, well,
everyone has to be contrarian. Everybody has to be special. And it's just like, how many times do you just watch a movie and you're just like, I like this, I didn't like this, I didn't like this, and then you just don't like, you know.
And I'm not even like, don't get me wrong again, I'm not trying to be like, you know, like, shh, let people enjoy things. It's just more of the, again, addiction that we have to everybody feeling like they have to have a platform for every fucking thing.
Every opinion needs to be voiced at all times regarding everything.
Right. And
not only that, but everything is political. Sorry, go ahead.
Totally. Well, you can notice the phenomenon even with like professional movie critics. And I notice it a lot when like a critic that I'm watching one of their reviews, they'll be like, and then this happened and it made completely no sense because they never set it up. I'm like, wait, yeah, they did. They set it up in this scene and this scene and this scene. But you were so busy thinking about how pissed you were You didn't even notice that they had actually done a good job. Like, you wanted to hate it because hate gets more clicks.
Yep.
So much that you missed the point of the thing you were watching, or you missed the setup or the context. And so, of course, the scene when the payoff came made no sense to you because you weren't paying attention. You were convincing yourself that it was going to suck.
Yeah, you were on Twitter in your head. And it's just so aggravating. So like I said, I was watching a movie, and I think that as soon as I had that thought, I was like, I don't really want to use Letterboxd anymore. Like, I'll use it for like a watch list, like keeping track of what I, want to see. But otherwise, I don't feel the need to have to comment on everything right away. And we even have a bonus spin-off Patreon show called Fire Bros. We review all different kinds of media on there. And I used to take notes for that when I would watch movies or TV shows we come back and review. And I kind of stopped doing that too, because I was just like, I just want to let it wash over me. I want to feel what I need to feel from this. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk about it with my friends. We're going to have a good
and even
time.
that is like, the setup is like, oh, it's you, me, our friend Josh sometimes, our friend Nico sometimes. And we're just like sitting in a room chatting, like, which is inherently like, it's almost like I can forget that the microphone's there because it's like we're just talking about the movie. And that in and of itself is like, this is a social activity. This is like, there's a point to it. There's like camaraderie. There's like, community. There's like all these different aspects. And it's like, it's not just me leaving a snarky, shittily written joke on a platform so that I can take a screenshot and then post it to Twitter.
Right. Because you're not present for the experience, you know? You're not. It's like, David Lynch would always be like, if you watched my movie on a phone, you didn't watch my fucking movie. Yeah. And I know he's kind of retracted that. But again, I think that the addiction we have to the mentality of being on our phones is like keeping us from, like I said, being present. So my punishment, Letterboxd, my punishment is I'm rating your website 1 star. And I'm not even leaving a review. I'm just leaving a 1-star review, and I'm logging off. Logging off. Ken, I got to ask you now. Do you have anything you want to get off your chest? A 2 minutes of hate? Anything you see that really bugs you?
I do have 2 minutes of hate. My 2 minutes of hate is on Stan culture, not my Uncle Stan, who I like very much.
Of course.
But as recently as yesterday, I saw somebody reply to one of my Twitter comments or one of my tweets and say, "We still stan Ken Bone." I don't fucking want you to stan Ken Bone, because if you're old enough to remember what Stan was, it was a Eminem song about a crazy fan named Stan who was obsessed with Eminem so much that he drove his pregnant girlfriend off a bridge while he had her locked in the trunk. He became violently and dangerously
and we're
obsessed.
Embracing this now.
And
right.
Yes, we do not want to embrace this. The hero worship culture of celebrities, especially dumb, low-tier celebrities like me or like a bunch of reality TV jackasses, they do not deserve that kind of devotion. That's the kind of devotion people used to give, I don't know, Jesus. And they're giving it to some Ramdo, just some nobody on the internet because you recognize their face. I recognize that every once in a while, I'll say something quasi-intelligent. That does not and should not earn me anybody's blind devotion. And I know that it's just a term they're using because like, oh, it's a synonym for like now. No, it's not. As a lot of people in a lot of political movements like to remind us, words have meaning and we should remember what words mean. So we do not stan Ken Bone. We do not stan Joe Biden. We do not stan Bieber or anybody else. You should not stan anybody because it is unhealthy. You can admire people for what they do, and that can be the end of it.
Yeah. I mean...
So my punishment is to put them in a car and lock them in the trunk and drive up a bridge.
Appropriate, going back to the roots of the original Stan.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that. Clear and succinct.
Concise.
Now, Grant, what's your 2 minutes of hate?
So we're getting ready to record this podcast as we do every week. And something happens that seems to happen a lot. There seems to be a trend, pretty hungry. Me and my girlfriend go on the Uber Eats app and order some Uber Eats. We get Portillo's, a Chicagoland staple. Delicious. One of the greatest chain, yet not a chain, but like a chain, like one of Chicago's great exports.
Got a bad feeling where this is going.
Portillo's, and we order it, and they drop the food off, and something is wrong. There's no cake. There's no cake in the order.
Did you order cake?
We ordered cake,
and you didn't get cake.
There was no cake.
And you paid for the cake.
We paid for the cake. There was no cake. Now, I don't care. It happens. Someone messed up, and I can forgive that. But I have to be honest, the amount of times that I've ordered food on one of these apps and the amount of times that they have gotten the order right is literal zero.
I was going to ask you if you happen to see your delivery driver like licking chocolate off their fingers.
I mean, that would be funny. And that would also explain the problem. Because I feel like the problem is that I don't know what the problem is.
That is a problem.
That's the problem. And here's the thing, like, if the driver stole the food, whatever. If Portillo's forgot the food, whatever. If Uber just did something wrong, whatever. But I don't know what it is, but it's never right. It's always wrong. There's always one or two things that are missing. And then, like, here's the mind-blowing part is, like, if you were to go to the restaurant and you were to order food and you were to be like, oh, you forgot my cake. They'd be like, okay, here. And that'd be it.
And maybe you get even an extra piece. Because
maybe you get an extra piece. Maybe you get whatever. But here's the thing. You go on the app and you go, hey, you guys, somebody forgot my cake. I don't know who did it, what happened, but just like, can I just have my money? And they keep track of how often you do it. And actually, so my girlfriend took a screenshot of this, and it says, we've refunded you the price of the cake. Our records indicate you've requested multiple refunds recently. Because of this, we may be unable to help with the refund request in the future. It's like,
okay.
What good are you? You're taking all of my money. You're delivering a subpar product where you're forgetting something. Every single fucking meal that I order, something's forgotten, something's missing. This is costing me money. The CEO of these companies are worth $200 trillion. They're making hand over fist. They're paying their drivers less than minimum wage. They pull up to a restaurant where people are themselves are working there for minimum wage. And you go, hey, somebody forgot my cake. Can I have my money back? And they go, they've forgotten your cake too many times. You can't get any more money. And it's like, but you are the one that's on the rectangle. You're the person that's inside the rectangle. You did this. You give me my money. I don't even want my money from Portillo's. I don't give a shit about Portillo's or the driver. You did this, Uber. You're the person in the rectangle. You fix it. You fix it.
Ken, you get this kind of service out there, and maybe this is just a city thing, Maybe there's too much traffic. I don't know.
It's everywhere. We use DoorDash more often here than we do Uber Eats because there are just more drivers. But it's the same problem. The last time I had a big problem, we had DoorDash some Little Caesars, which I know is like the bottom barrel of like, oh my God, you're too lazy to go get pizza that's already freaking made and sitting in a hot box. Well, yeah, I did it. I want
no shame.
Hot and ready pepperoni and some breadsticks and a 2-liter of Mountain Dew. And the guy doesn't bring my damn 2-liter of Mountain Dew. So I text the driver, and I'm like, hey, do you have a 2-liter of Mountain Dew in your front seat? Because you can turn around. You're probably at the end of my street, and if I can bring it back to me. And he's like, oh, no, I don't have it. Okay, well, can you get it taken off my bill? No. you got to talk to DoorDash. I'm like, okay. So I try to go on the DoorDash app. I'm getting nowhere. The whole appeal of DoorDash and Uber Eats and all these is supposed to be I don't have to interact with any human to get my damn food. That's why I'm willing to pay an exorbitant amount of money
for
food that is now soggy and cold, just so I don't have to deal with putting on pants and going to get and telling a human what I want. So I end up having to talk to a person. They're like, oh, sorry, we can't refund you because basically I can't prove that there's no Mountain Dew in my house. I'm like, all right, fine. Jesus. So I call Little Caesars. I'm like, hey, they didn't give me my Mountain Dew. I want some Mountain Dew. And the guy's like, well, I can't take it off your bill because that's DoorDash, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, you can come into the store and get it. I'm like, well, now I'm going to leave my pizza at home. It's going to get nasty. I can go into the Little Caesars store and get some Mountain Dew. You know what? Fine. I will. I drove to Little Caesars and I grabbed 8 2-liters, as many as I could hold in both arms, and walked out. I thought the cops were going to come after me for Mountain Dew theft. But the poor girl making minimum wage at the front desk saw me, and she's just like, whatever.
Yeah, take it. It's all you.
She probably didn't even know I wasn't the guy, that I was the guy from the phone. I might have just been some dude coming in and stealing all their Mountain Dew. And she's like, whatever, I don't get paid enough to do stop loss for freaking Little Caesars.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's made so damn much.
It's made everything worse. Like you said, it's more expensive. Everything's worse. Nobody knows who's culpable to who regarding what. There's no stipulation. And even the Uber Eats app does not allow you to, I don't think, I could be wrong, I can't remember. I don't think that you can ask for a request. You have to go onto the website. There's no part of the app that's like, hey, you fucked up my order. Could you just take care of it? You have to go onto the website and file a claim. They do steps removed so that they don't have to do it more, despite the fact that, in my opinion, they're culpable because I didn't tell Portillo's what my order was. I told Uber what my order was. And somehow Uber got it wrong because I didn't get my order. I didn't call Portillo's and say, hey, I want this, and then they failed to deliver. I told Uber to tell Portillo's to tell the driver to pick this up and bring it to me, and I didn't have it. And
I'm going to ask you the question.
Once in a while is okay, but when it happens constantly and it happens so much that they're like, "Hey, we fucked up your order so many times that we can't give you back any more money." Like, one of the previous times that we had to ask for a refund was because I found a staple in a piece of sushi.
Jesus Christ.
They fully refunded that order, but that counts towards we gave you too many refunds. You almost killed me. Just give me the $6.
Yeah, that's backwards as fuck. Now, I'm going to ask you the question that I think every listener wants to ask you right now. Have you considered just going yourself? If it's causing you this much pain and suffering, have you considered going to Portillo's on your own?
It depends on which place you're ordering from, of course. Because, there's places that are close by that I can just walk to, but not every place is. Not every place is open all the time, but sometimes they still do delivery and stuff like that. So it depends, because it's not like I'm ordering from the same. That's another thing. I'm not ordering from the same place every time, but still somehow everything's always fucked up. And I don't get why. I don't know who's doing it. I want it to stop.
Too many middlemen. I think that's what it is. There's too many people. Like, there's the driver, there's the Uber company, then there's the restaurant. It's just there. And then, like,
somebody's got to figure it out
all through a screen. It's just, it's definitely, it sounds like there's way more mistakes than should be happening.
It's every time.
Yeah,
I don't think
ridiculous.
I've ever gotten a correct order from Uber Eats. I don't think it's ever been right ever once. And again, I'm fine. I just want to know who to yell at.
Uber, for sure. Uber is the one that should be assuming the risk in this situation because they are the go-between. They are raking in all this money while providing nothing except for the server space and the app that allows you to connect the driver to the restaurant to you.
Right.
Uber has no human being in this process, all automated. They should be able to be the assumers of risk in this situation because they're making this money for nothing. But they're not. They're just tacking on a bunch of fees. And then the restaurants also have to raise their prices because Uber's shaving money off the top of your ticket also, in addition to what you're paying. And their drivers are independent contractors, which means that Uber doesn't claim any responsibility for them or their conduct or their well-being. So they're getting hosed. So it just stacks up money. Like, we went out the other day, me and my wife, to a steakhouse, pretty nice steakhouse. And she was like, wow, kind of a special occasion. You know, we can't eat out like this all the time. And I'm like, babe, compared to what we pay to get fucking Taco Bell left on our front door, we could come here literally every day. Like, it's like the same amount of money to get, you know, fast casual quality food dropped at the door as it is to have quasi fine dining and you actually go.
You just had to go. You just had to be there. Now, Grant, I'm going to ask you, what is your punishment? I know this is a personal thing for you, so I want to, you know, give you this time and this space to really lay it on thick.
Uber pays more taxes. I don't know. Raise the marginal tax rate for top earning companies. I don't.
And you think
alternative minimum tax?
Yeah.
You think that'll hold them to like a higher responsibility?
No, I just think fuck them. That's all I think. Honestly, just fuck them. Like my whole thing with like a lot of the stuff where people are like, oh, you tax people more, they pull the prices more, despite the fact that, like, you know, yeah, prices are high as they need to be, and for some people, taxes are the lowest they've ever been, ever. And the whole thing is like, I don't care if this is fair or not. I just want to see some people punished. I want to see some metaphorical Minecraft heads roll. And when people go, oh, you can't raise my taxes, I go, I want to raise specifically only your taxes, comma, the CEO of Uber. I want 100% effective tax rate. I want all of your money gone. And I get free Portillo's cakes for life. That's all I want from you. You pay for it.
You want to have your cake and eat it too.
That's all I'm saying.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like.
Sorry, Ken. Go ahead.
Well, I was just we're getting into political stuff, which that's my sphere. And I think, like, they always do tell you, like, well, corporations don't pay tax because they just pass that all along to their customers. Yeah. Well, we just had the greatest upward transfer of wealth in the history of humankind with the CARES Act earlier this year. Yeah. And the people only got between 18 and 24% of that money, depending on who you ask to do the books. Corporations and the ultra rich got the rest. And what did they do with the money? We're buying back stock. We've got supply chain limitations and record high prices on a bunch of shit. And you got companies buying back billions of dollars in their own stock, taking it out of the market, which basically fucks us 401k holders and stuff even more. So we're getting it from both ends. The prices are going up and they're getting record profits and buying back more of their own stock. So, hell with them. Raise their taxes.
Yeah. And yeah, there's part of me that's like, yeah, there's a policy issue that can be addressed, but honestly, I'm scorched earth policy. Oh, you're gonna be sad. You're gonna piss your pants a little. You're gonna maybe shit and cum because people raised your taxes. Oh well, we raised all of your taxes.
My taxes are pretty high. I live with it. I pay a higher effective tax rate than any rich person.
Yeah.
I'm paying right now in federal and state taxes, not counting property tax, not counting sales tax. I'm paying like 24% of my gross pay has come out in tax deduction this year. I was just looking at a paycheck stub earlier this week. 24%, and that doesn't count any of the other taxes. Plus, I'm probably going to end when I file my income tax at the end of the year. That is criminal, considering that you got billionaires paying like 2%.
I love that too, living in the state of Illinois where people are like, you can't raise the taxes on billionaires because they're going to leave. And it's like, I leave. I don't want you. Get out. I don't want you here.
Good riddance. But speaking of good riddance, let's get on to our main segment of the show. Yeah. So if you haven't listened to Thought Cops before, if you're here for Ken Bone, every week we investigate the internet's outrage-inducing news stories and we sentence each perpetrator to a cruel and quite often unusual punishment.
Speaking of billionaires, is this the one we're going with?
I think we should talk about this. Yeah. So So Grimes and Elon Musk, they broke up. We all know it. We've all spent a lot of time crying over it. So Grimes released a new song that declares Elon Musk as the greatest gamer, but a crappy boyfriend. It's one of the lines in there. Greatest gamer, but a crappy boyfriend. Now I know a lot of
whatever. I bet he wouldn't 1v1 me and shot at, shoddy snipers.
And you think so? You think you're a great gamer and also a great husband. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. That's.
I am not a great gamer, but I guarantee you, Elon's not either. What he's great at is fleecing people out of their money, using companies that seem innovative but actually hemorrhage cash every quarter.
And he's another one too. Like, what was that? Like, he responded to Bernie Sanders or something. He's like, "Oh, you're still alive," and he's saying that we shouldn't tax the billionaires because they have to go to space.
He's right. I can see no arguments.
I mean, then again, though, it's like Ken was saying, if your whole life is you can fly to Australia and eat dinner and fly back the next morning, eat breakfast here, where else do you go but space and then fuck everybody else? But
when Jeff Bezos came back from space and he literally said, "I want to thank all the Amazon workers because they paid for this." That was his words. That's a fucking quote.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know about the billionaire class. He's okay as long as he gets to do 20 minutes of space tourism. He's okay with all his workers having to pee in bottles.
Right. Yeah.
So you got the lyrics pulled up here, Grant.
I have the lyrics pulled up. Should I just do a dry read of them?
Well, there's the middle chunk is
okay,
what's important here. It says, "I'm in love with the greatest gamer, but he'll always love the game more than he loves me. Oh.
Sail away to the cold expanse of space. Even love couldn't keep you in your place. But can't you love me like that? Can't you need me like that? If I loved him any less, I'd make him stay. But he has to be the best player of games."
So not exactly vague. We all know who she's talking about.
The gamer king himself.
The gamer king himself, Elon Musk. I wonder how he feels about this. I don't blame
Elon Musk he doesn't express his love properly because his species doesn't have the concept of romantic love. So it's not really his fault.
You know what? I bet he's so vain that he probably thinks that song is about him. I'm willing to bet.
Like $10,000. Somebody gave Carly Simon like $10,000 to find out who that song was about. And they had to sign an NDA that said they would never reveal it. But they got to have dinner with her and she told her who the song was about.
That would be a nice treat. Just that little secret you can have where it's like everybody knows the song, but you're the one who knows the truth. So, I mean, this is obviously really stupid. Let's
go in a circle and everyone say their favorite Elon Musk tweet. I'll go first. I heart emoji anime. That's mine. Kevin, you can go ahead. What's your favorite?
Elon Musk is the only person I have blocked on Twitter, so I cannot say that I have a favorite in mind. The ones that I think of when I do think of him make me angry, so I try not to think of them or commit them to memory. So I'm going to pass.
Well, his recent one where he was like, "Do you want me to sell a bunch of my stock?" And then he put out a poll and everybody's like, "Yes, fuck you."
Yeah.
That was pretty great.
That was good.
I do want you to divest from your personal billions of dollars so that becomes an income event so you can actually be taxed on it like a real citizen.
Yeah, why not? Sounds fun.
I love when everyone's like, "Oh, you can't tax them more because all their money is not liquid." Like it's not, they don't just have money, they got to sell some of their assets. And it's like, oh, he just sold a bunch of his assets and now it's money.
My house is not money, but I have to pay 4.5% of its value every year in a tax. So why don't they have to pay a tax on some of their assets? A house is by far the biggest asset that your average American has or will ever have. Well, it's not a very big asset for the ultra rich. So we should be taxing their assets the same way the government is taxing my assets. My property taxes pay for roads and schools here in my county, as I'm sure your guys' do up there for your property taxes. So why aren't these ultra rich people having to pay the same types of taxes that we are? Fuck them.
So let's have a clear, concise, and quick punishment for this one.
I say we take his controller away.
He might cry. I don't know. He might
I say they have to change their kid's dumb name.
Yeah,
They have to give their child a real name.
I mean, he probably does have a real
Honestly,
name. It's just like they just don't say it. They're like, yeah, we call him Simon at home, but for all intents and purposes, he's called like X5123.
I think they call the child. I don't even know the child's like gender or anything. Like it's just the child. It's kid A, but I think that they call it just X. Oh yeah, we take X to the playground or whatever. He shoots off laser beams at the other like.
Let's bring this up to a more positive, uplifting note. So we're talking about breakups. We're talking about divorce. Let's talk about the thing that brings people together, marriage. So, Ken, are you familiar with the Metaverse?
Yes, I am.
This really low poly, bad graphics, kind of the thing you'd from one of the biggest companies, or not the biggest company on the fucking planet, has this virtual reality system that you can log into called the Metaverse. So now there's a story going around from the New York Times this week about getting married within the Metaverse. So the bride walks down the aisle, the groom's buddy made a toast, and there was dancing at the reception. And guess what? It all happened inside the Metaverse.
We have, let me pull up, there is video or image of this. Let me pull this up real quick. So this is what the Metaverse looks like.
I think it looks incredible.
This is basically the beginning of the plot to Disney Pixar's WALL-E or Ready Player One. And they're both horrible dystopian futures. And our robot overlords are fucking pumped about it like it's the greatest thing ever.
So I accidentally pulled up the wrong clip, if you believe it or not. But so this was the actual. So I played that. That's from a movie called Rhapsody Kids. That was made in like 2000.
And this is also from Rhapsody Kids, right?
This is the Metaverse, baby. This is what it looks like. This is the New York Times article. The bride walked down the aisle. The groom's buddy made a toast. There was dancing at the reception. It all happened in the Metaverse. Here's the bride and groom.
Blushing, beautiful bride. Look at her. She looks like...
Second Life looked better than this.
This looks like Sega Dreamcast.
This is terrible.
Not great.
Yeah, for the training we make at work, to make it less boring, we have like sometimes cartoon characters and stuff in it. Our whole company pays like $1,100 a year to use the software, and it looks way better than that.
That's what's so baffling about this, and that's what we've been talking about with the NFT stuff too, because they made that cartoon we talked about last week where they animated these NFTs people owned, and it looks like worse than an Adult Swim cartoon from 20 years ago. And I'm not saying it has to like look immaculate, but it's like you would expect for the amount of money that these people are willing to pay for it, it would look better than like
it would look okay.
It would look better than like any Disney movie, any Pixar movie out there you can think of, but it looks like shit. And so does this.
This looks like Reboot, that Canadian TV show from about 20 years back.
Oh yeah, no,
Transformers.
Honestly, that's the best analogy I've ever seen or I've heard so far, because if you look at him, like they do have that dead-eyed stare that they had in Reboot, where it's like, let's cut Reboot some slack though. That was, like you said, a low budget CG animated
and
cartoon.
It was 20 years ago.
From longer than that, from like 1995.
Oh, Jesus.
And it somehow looks better than this. From
also, that show was
Facebook.
dope. I don't want to say anything bad about that show. It was cool.
Yeah,
anybody remember that show that was like Into the Rift?
Sounds familiar.
I feel like that looked very similar to this. That was also sort of like a early 2000s-y sort of. It's not good that we're comparing it to such old fucking technology,
Yeah, and I mean, it's just like, but this has been one of those things everybody's been like screen capping on Twitter all week, because it's like, again, it's baffling at how bad it looks,
Right.
No, that looks like my Me avatar from the Wii when I bought one in like 2006.
Yeah.
At least that's more endearing than this,
Well,
At
yeah,
least they
mine
can play
looked great.
tennis.
It could have been my passport photo.
Oh, here's a funny little anecdote she has on here. So the bride says, being a metaverse bride has other benefits. I'm always a size 4, even in January, she says, and I never have a bad hair day in the metaverse.
Yeah, this is definitely like Wall-E. People are just going to be floating around in chairs, being fed by tubes, and living entirely in the metaverse.
I mean, we got a new Matrix movie coming out soon. And again, I would have thought that by now, I mean, I know the Matrix is kind of a cautionary tale in a way, but you would think that by now we would at least be a little bit closer to that. But maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we don't want to be harvested as human batteries. If maybe the metaverse looked too good, we would never want to leave. But it looks so shitty, we never want to go inside. And for that, I'm kind of thankful.
Yeah. I just feel like for all of like the sci-fi from like the 80s and 90s, and like for so many movies and books and video games that existed for such a long time, that there was this like highly stylized element of, you looked at certain genres like cyberpunk or things of that nature, and you're just like, wow, at least things look cool now. Like that's like the meme of the one guy where he's like looking at the thing and it's like, oh, wow, cool jacket that the protagonist is wearing. And it's like, dystopian future going over his head. There is an aspect to that where it's like, okay, whatever, fine. I get it. I see it. I admit it. But it's like, man, the future sure did seem a lot cooler back then than what the current future is now.
It's like a capitalist hellscape.
It's so shitty. It's just everything's gotten watered down. Reality sucks. It's not. I don't even get a cool looking cyber arm that shoots lasers.
You don't get a cool looking cyber arm that shoots lasers. You order food. You order food on your computer and they forget your piece of cake. Sucks.
I don't get a katana that can deflect bullets. What's the point?
You're definitely right. Like if I was going to get married in the metaverse, my wife would have been like, some kind of incredibly hot alien, and I would have been Optimus Prime. I wouldn't have been some schlub in a cheap tuxedo, poorly rendered on the computing power of my fucking digital watch.
Because why not, right? Why the fuck not? And like you mentioned, like you could be anybody you want. It really does somehow look even worse than VR chat, which again we've had around for quite some time now.
Yeah, I want to bring up this real quick because this is within the vein. It's not just the internet, but I feel like TV has also become sort of like a weird victim to this. Over Thanksgiving, I was watching this TV show with my relatives called Alter Ego, and I don't know if anyone's heard of this show or seen this show.
Never.
It's like American Idol, but they're like CGI like alter egos.
What is this on TV or like streaming?
This is after whatever channel The Masked Singer is on.
I was going to say this seems like the next evolution of Masked Singer.
It's right after The Masked Singer. I watched it, and it's called Alter Ego. Actually, Grimes is one of the judges on the show, which makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to pull up some images from this. This looks terrible. People were like commenting that like these characters look like really shitty, like World of Warcraft. Here's the cast of the show. They look like they're World of Warcraft level, like 2002. Like they just look like garbage.
What do they do on the show?
It's a singing competition.
Oh.
It's just a singing competition, but you make a cheap looking shitty CGI character and you sing a Justin Timberlake song dressed as whatever the fuck this is.
I can't say I understand, but I don't think I should try to understand. But I do have a punishment though for this metaverse story. I do have a punishment. If you get married in the metaverse, your wedding gets crashed by a bunch of those Ugandan knuckles.
Hell yeah.
Remember those little guys?
Racist knuckles.
Yeah, those guys just like storm your wedding. These little tiny, cute little knuckles. They say,
it should be allowed.
Whatever. But they show up and they just bombard. They drink too much. They make a mess. The whole thing's ruined. and you think maybe this whole metaverse thing isn't so great after all.
VR chat looks way better than this.
I was thinking something similar, only like it, in all your wedding videos, we changed the bridal march to the hamster dance.
Bringing it all back to the whole, that's just all this Y2K era internet stuff.
Yeah, honestly,
that's
everyone
what the era internet was when I started using it.
And
it's all been downhill since then.
It should have stayed the same. I'm still fucking listening to the Numa guy. I'm still listening to Group X. It should all still be there.
I'm a meme myself. The Numa guy is like our god. That's who I look up to. That's who all us memes idolize.
Honestly, that's like the greatest thing you can aspire to, is to be the Numa guy. I mean,
I was going to ask whatever happened to that guy, and for some reason I'm like, maybe I don't want to know. For whatever, who knows?
I think he's in a band. His name's Gary Brawlsma. I think you can just like follow him on Twitter. He's still like around. He's just not known for that anymore, but like he's still just around, just hanging out. I don't think he's done anything bad.
So I want to move on to the next story we have here. COVID-19 spread more by men and loud talkers, according to this new study.
He was a loud talker,
right? They bring back Seinfeld for the modern age, and I got COVID, Jerry.
What? That's a trite idea.
As if we've never discovered or looked into that before. So it says men and people who speak at louder volumes more easily spread COVID-19, according to researchers at Colorado State University. So, when I'm out here, I'm doing my intro, I'm screaming, welcome to Thought Cops. I'm, of course,
all COVID.
I'm being a loud and very toxic man, and I'm also getting people very sick.
Dude, you're literally man spreading.
That's what I was going to say. This kind of reminds me of like, this is the new man spreading now, but now they're trying to pin that we're like spreading a deadly disease.
Right.
Like we're not just taking up too much space on the train. Now we're killing people with our voices. According to this study from the Colorado State University. Which, I mean, like, in all reality, though, it does make a little bit of sense. It's like, I saw some other study, I think it was like earlier this year or sometime last year, where they were saying that there was, certain countries where their language uses less hard vowel sounds or long vowel sounds had lower COVID rates. And they were thinking maybe that was because there's less of, when you're talking to somebody, those particles that are spread.
The ahs, the ohs, the e's, the oohs.
Sure.
All your expelling and your mouth is open.
And, of course, here in Chicago, we love our vowels. And that's why we're the sickest. No, I don't think we are. But like I said, it makes some sense. I think that, this is probably a worthless study. I don't really see a lot of point to this. Like, what are we going to do?
Shut the fuck up. That's what you're supposed to do.
No, that's not going to happen.
Shut the fuck up.
That's not going to happen.
I have heard people
this
say,
study,
yeah, go ahead.
This will get a lot of researchers a lot more grant money because it got 1 million clicks. And that's the point of a lot of damn research these days. It's like, what can we do? Well, it's about COVID. So everybody wants to read about COVID because it's not like we've been living it for fucking a lifetime. And what else? It's a group that is traditionally not marginalized. It's like has a lot of power. It says some shit is their fault. That's like the two greatest things you can do is blame someone, especially if it's someone that doesn't usually get blamed for shit. And then, talk about COVID. COVID is the fault of men because they have more lung volume. And then, of course, at the bottom of the comments, you have somebody like, how dare you say there are gender differences physically between men and women? And then it devolves from there because it's the internet.
I was going to say, I didn't even think about that angle.
Right. I'm more than willing to say that if you actually click this study and read it, that like if you read the byline of the study, it'll probably have some very acute scientific jargon that says more or less like, we have reason to believe, but with minimal proof that this may be true in a certain capacity. And then you see this big fucking New York Post headline that's like, definitively true. Like how many times has that happened to us on this show where it's been like, oh, the study actually just didn't even say that.
says here
Well,
there were
it's constant.
significant. It says if there were significant differences after accounting for CO2 between males and females and kids, then you'd have to know how many males, females, and minors were in a room to estimate transmission risks. Our data suggests that you don't need to know that if you just measure the CO2 and noise levels, because those measures are an equalizer for these different demographics. And again, and this all kind of sounds like a non-answer to me.
Right.
Yeah, they took kind of a scientific approach. They hedged their results, which is a smart thing to do when you're doing especially a soft science kind of study like this. And then somebody sees it and they're like, oh, yeah, COVID spread more by bed. It's just the same as articles that came out earlier in the week. Be like, we're so much closer to fusion power. Are we really? I would love for that to be the case. But, those articles come out about 6 times a year that basically tell us we're each going to have a miniature sun in our basement to power our homes for 20,000 years. And then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We all watch Spider-Man 2. We know what happens.
Yeah, you get some of that precious tritium. Get that precious tritium and it accidentally cuts your wife to ribbons with glass.
I hate when that happens.
Them's the breaks.
I really hate when that happens. It sucks.
So I guess, I don't know, man. Maybe you said it best. The best punishment is
shut the fuck up.
Shut up. I don't have to scream the intro in the side of your ear every week.
If when we were first like, okay, there's a COVID, it exists, it happens, there's a COVID, it's going around. If everyone would have just shut the fuck up, I think it would have been over. But instead, everyone was like, I'm going to go into an airport and not wear a mask and scream at the top of my lungs and get arrested. And it's like, now look at us. If they would have just shut the fuck up.
If I was going to be a political prisoner in my lifetime, it would be because I'm trying to get rights to the marginalized or stop some horrible injustice or something horrible had happened to me or my family and I wanted to bring light to it. Right. Not like, I don't want to wear a mask, so I'm going to let you drag me away kicking and screaming. I'm not in favor of police brutality ever, except now. Punch that guy in the side of the fucking head.
I like the mask. I want the mask. I look like a cool ninja. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to look cooler than everybody.
Now I'm going to move on. Let's talk about one more story here. I want to talk about this. This is related, and I just want to read this headline and gauge your guys' level of confusion. So this comes to us from a Consequence of Sound, scientific research. It says, hold on one second here. It says, a new viral music project used computers to transform the genetic sequence of the COVID-19 virus into songs, and then turn those songs into NFTs. Now, if that isn't the most 2021 headline there could ever be, I don't know what is. And what better way to round out 2021 than with just the most confusing bullshit way to capitalize on tragedy by turning the virus into a song. And that's not enough. We got to turn the song into an NFT that you can purchase on the blockchain grant.
This is right up there, not as bad, but getting close to George Zimmerman auctioning off the gun that he used to murder Trayvon Martin, trying to profit off of human misery.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's not quite there, but yeah, it is very stupid.
It is adjacent in a way, in an obviously not racially motivated way, but yeah.
No, it's the same concept that you take something evil and you think, oh, I could probably inject capitalism into this somehow to the benefit of no one.
I think I make a quick buck. I'm going to read a statement
the benefit
here.
of no one but me.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. I'm going to read a statement here from Ren Graves, who is with Viro Music. They said, we tried out this whole music thing for a couple of millennia, and while it had a good run, it's now clear that humans just can't be trusted with melody and rhythm. As first and final proof, look no further than the new Viro Music project, which used computers to transform the genetic sequence of the COVID-19 virus into songs, and then turn those songs into NFTs. Because if there is one thing this human-killing virus needed, It was a way to kill the environment too. So it says they use a process called DNA sonification. It's a software program hunted through COVID-19's genetic code, looking for stretches of the RNA that could be translated into music. And then after that, an algorithm converts that RNA into musical notes. But the results didn't sound exactly like songs, so Viro Music brought in ringers, real human musicians to accompany these near random melodies. I mean, like,
Yeah,
I know
that sounds about right.
I know there's like all these, you want to like, there's kind of like people are doing cool stuff with like, oh, like if you like bringing the melody of a song into like physical form. Like I think I saw something like people do stuff like that with like a different like underwater studies and like just the vibrations through the water.
Or like
what
what does Mars sound like? And it's like you can't really just stick a microphone up there, but you can sort of like assess different signal lengths and be like, oh, this is roughly like what
sure
is.
But it's like
The Martian atmosphere is only 2% as thick as ours or less in most places, so it sounds like basically nothing.
Exactly.
There, give me some NFT money.
rolling in dough. So, I mean, this is like, again, just the most 2021 headline I could possibly think of.
Yeah. This really rounds out the year. I can't wait to see what 2022 is going to sound like.
I can't wait either. And I think that a good punishment for this should have been the soundtrack for that monkey cartoon we watched last week, Grant, the NFT monkeys.
Yeah, just make everything.
What are they? I can never remember what the fuck they're called. Bored apes?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well,
I don't care.
They're running around and they're just, the soundtrack is the virus that is killing people.
Here's
because that just makes sense.
Here's my that does make sense, and that's a good point. Here's my punishment. I would like to add on to yours. I would like to think that I am far be it from a political extremist. We all know me. I'm leaning this way all the time. I'm leaning this way, but I want to bring people with me. I want to make the case for things. I don't want to say, hey, do what I want you to do. I don't want to say, think the way I want you to think. I want to say, hey, this is what I think. I think that other people should think that. And I would like to see more people think that. And I don't really want to force people to think that, but I would like more people on the side of what I think that some people should think. I think we just should make NFTs illegal. I think just if you own an NFT, gulag, you go to prison, you just, they're outlawed completely. They disassemble the blockchain technology. I am so fucking sick of hearing about NFTs every week, and they're not going away. They should have gone away already. They're not going away. They're still here. I still got to look at stupid fucking apes and stupid lions, and they look like garbage, and it's just becoming more prominent. And now people are saying, hey, Quentin Tarantino, you should take the single frame of your movie where the two guys point the guns. You should sell that as an NFT. And Quentin Tarantino goes, I sold a movie with that in it. Why do I need to sell more? Because you could make $100 quadrillion. And it's like, what does this do for anybody?
Just because money's on the table does not mean you have to.
We just make it illegal.
Because if you always take the money that's on the table, you're just going to ruin your fucking reputation. You're going to ruin your brand. And I think that's like people, like I see that more and more where people are like, they're like trying to integrate NFTs into video games now. Like Ubisoft is like, oh, there's a playable NFT, and I don't know what that means. I don't like. As far as I know,
there's entire apps that are running on NFTs. It's just like, oh, powered by what? It's just like, why? Like, I get that there's a reason for it beyond the sense of it's just storing a shitty looking JPEG file, but I don't care. Anybody that has one of these things, jail. Everything else, it's illegal. There has to be a black market for it. It has to be the deepest underground. I want to hear nothing more about this. I can't wait to hear more about it next year.
Yeah, or next week. Tops. Yeah. But let's move on to something positive. Let's move on to something nice. Because, we talk about NFTs for so long. I got to have a chaser.
Okay.
Let's move on to Thought Cop's Key to the City, where we like to shine a light on something positive, something cool, something nice, something that may have just made you smile this week. If you want to pull up that one at the top there, The YouTube link, Grant.
Yeah.
That one. So this is a very short musical that somebody made off of a meme. We're gonna show this on the screen here, Ken. I don't know if you may have seen this meme before, but it's called "This Is Doing Numbers," and it's this picture of this guy. Well, we'll show it on the screen here in a second. Yeah, it's a picture of this guy. As you can see, he's looking at the screen. He has like 2 retweets, 3 likes, and like it's kind of like, you know, you get that maybe, I mean, Ken, maybe you understand. Like you get that brief, taste of fame, and then you're just like, oh yeah, I'm living in it now. And this is a meme that I think a lot of us can relate to, at least at some point of our lives. But somebody, you want to scroll down to his name real quick, Grant? I forgot who it is.
Kevin
Temertunes. Kevin Temertunes made this brief musical. It's 22 seconds long.
Here it is.
This is doing numbers. Finding somebody who wants to listen to me. I fell into a slumber. Woke up and my whole life changed instantly. I was a nobody. And now I'm a nobody. This is something on the internet that people like.
Now, I love this.
That was good.
I want to see this guy. I want to see an entire musical about Twitter because it's so obviously it's all like shitty poo poo caca sucks ass. But I want to see like somebody spin this into like a musical.
Yeah, like a full length feature film.
I want to see the sideways facing yes guy just get his own solo in the musical and sing about like, I'm right, I'm you, you're soy, I'm the yes guy.
Yeah.
Just spin it into something fun and nice. So that gets my key to the city, Kevin Temertunes. Check him out. Ken, did you have something positive you'd like to share with the class?
Yeah, my key to the city goes to kind of a large or vague group of artists who know their worth. This year, I've engaged a couple of artists to do commissions for me. One to make a logo and one to do a piece of art that I have hanging in my house. And I rewarded them with what we agreed upon, which was money, because money is what you use to acquire goods and services, not exposure. Now, like I got 150-something thousand Twitter followers. I could have gotten them exposure out the ass. But then when they went to pay their rent, they wouldn't have been able to pay it with said exposure. They would have been like, look at all the likes my art got on Ken Bone's Twitter. Nobody gives a shit. We don't give you apples and bananas for that at the grocery store.
Right, so you sit there like, this is doing numbers,
Yeah, you pay your artists with money because they are doing labor or providing a service for you. You provide them with the means of acquiring goods and services from other people. And artists who recognize that their time is worth compensation, this key to the city goes to you.
Oh yeah. And I know we've commissioned a few different pieces for our show. Like our main piece of artwork, we commissioned from Inku-san on Twitter. Great artist, great guy. And it just feels like, honestly, if I'm going to spend money on almost anything, it always feels nice to like just know that it's going right to the person who's making this thing. Just there's no like middleman, nobody to lose the piece of cake I ordered. Just it goes straight to whoever's making it, and it's like somebody who is like talented but should be more successful than they are usually. So it's always just nice to like, like get that out there for them. It's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you got for us, Grant?
I am viciously scrolling right now to find mine, but basically my key to the city this week goes, I've been holding on to this one for a while until we had like sort of a bigger episode because, there's some people that deserve bigger plugs for bigger episodes. My key to the city this week goes to... Pulling it up. John Elizabeth Stincy. I'm going to say that again. John Elizabeth Stincy. Happy to announce that my novel Vanishing Monuments is out today in audio format. They used narrated by the very talented Joanne Vanicola, who I guess has done voice acting work for a number of different, I think they mentioned like Beyblade and
Didn't expect that.
A couple Beyblade and what was the other one? Metabots.
Hell yeah.
So John Elizabeth Stintsey's audiobook came out, and you should all go check it out. It's on every major platform where you can get audiobooks. I don't know. Where do you get audiobooks?
Well,
Audible?
why don't you plug their Twitter? You can find it there.
Yeah. It's at Jess Stintsey, JESTINTZI. Also did the Heathcliff, but also the Fire Bros artwork.
Yeah, they've done a lot of really awesome artwork for us, and we are very appreciative. Really awesome. Everybody always seems to love it when it's like, oh, just a nice little surprise. Oh, hey, there's Heathcliff dressed like Grant, kind of.
Audible,
got the gun.
Libro.fm. Check it out. Hopefully this yields
after this episode. Finish the episode first. Finish the episode first, then listen to the book.
Yeah. In that order.
So before we get to our final segment, which is hearing from our wonderful listeners by listening to some listener voicemails, Ken, if you could just go ahead and plug everything you want to plug, where people can find you, where they can seek out your thoughts, your ideas, anywhere.
Well, on Twitter, I'm at KenBone18 if you want to follow me. If you don't, my heart will not be broken, nor will I be surprised, but knock yourself out. Or you can book me on Cameo. 10% of everything I make on Cameo in December goes to the St. Patrick Center for the Homeless here in the St. Louis area. If you don't want to give me money to tell your brother-in-law Merry Christmas, but you still want to benefit them, go to stpatrickcenter.org and give them $1, $2, $1,000, whatever you can afford. This is a great season to be helping the homeless. They're a Homes First charity or homeless charity initiative, which means that instead of dangling a stable housing environment in front of people like a carrot, like you can get housing if you get clean or if you get a job or if you find Jesus or whatever. They say, hey, you know what would make you not homeless? If you had a home. And they put you in a home, and then you're in a stable home, usually an apartment or another small rental property. And then now that you have an address, they can start helping you address the root causes of your homelessness, whether it's fleeing from domestic violence or substance abuse or mental illness or whatever it is. Now that you're in a stable home, you have a much better chance of overcoming those issues, and they will help you with all of that. It's a very expensive process, but has a enormous success rate. About 80% of their clients that they get into housing become stable members of society again and no longer require assistance in the future. They are able to build a life for themselves. That is an unbelievable success rate for any kind of homeless charity. So it is a proven model. It works all across the country. This is the best organization that does it in my area, in the St. Louis area. So please do what you can for them.
And one more time, the name of that organization was?
St. Patrick Center. So you go to stpatrickcenter.org and you can find a lot more information.
Awesome. I may do that myself.
Yeah.
So I also want to give a quick thank you to our new patrons this week. Well, I'll say patron, Jeremy Montez. Thank you for your donations. And then everybody else who continues to do the same. We
keeping the show running.
Very, very, very greatly appreciate it. And you can head on over to patreon.com/thoughtcops. You can just give us a couple bucks a month, $5 a month, $4 a month, whatever you feel like. Whatever you can afford, we would we would appreciate it. So yeah, let's listen to some of those listener voicemails. If you want to give us a call of your own, if this inspires you, our number is 312-788-7361. Or you can always send us an audio file to our email address, which is thoughtcopspodcast@gmail.com. Let's hit it.
I just found out that a shark's brain looks like a uterus. Look it up. I'm not joking. That's all. Thanks for coming on the show, Ken Bone.
Was that Zwick?
It sounded like him. Ken, care to comment?
Any thoughts on that?
Well, happy to be here as always. And I'm not sure what else I can say.
I don't either, but hey, thanks for the voicemail. We love to hear from you.
Appreciate it.
Let's play the next one here.
Yeah.
Woohoo! It's me, I'm Mario, calling into the article.
Oh, wow.
I must specifically call for a
It's
Gretsch.
Chris Pratt.
A Gretsch. I have been waiting for you to play a Paper Mario. Why won't you play me, Mario? Why don't you play the Mario?
That's getting correct, you know who this is. It's a Twitch channel. I sure miss hearing Mario.
I
miss
beat that
hearing
game.
A lot about
Yeah, what's this thing?
Mario. I wonder where he went. I wonder why no one wants.
Just kidding, boys. Once again, it is I.
Oh, okay.
Really incredible.
Hello, Leo.
Gracing your voicemail. Thought crime. Christmas music. Too soon. Too much.
Yeah.
Nobody likes Christmas music.
At least December.
Right.
When they brought up the Spotify rap, do you know how many Santa Clauses showed up on those Spotifys?
None.
Not many.
Nobody likes Christmas music, boys. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to put up with it. No one wants to hear your shitty rendition of it. Swap out the male singer for the female and the female for the male. Congratulations. Your Christmas song for the year. I think not. Hot garbage is what you have made. So, the thought crime is enjoying Christmas music. I demand punishment. Bring out the wheel. Have a wonderful night, gentlemen.
It's over there. It is back. Are you going to grab it? You have to assemble it, though. I mean, it's not put together. You're not going to have time to... Are you going to fake spin the wheel?
Spin it. All right.
Mr.
3,
Plinkett sure was
2,
pissed about
Yeah.
the Christmas music.
Sissy Fist Boulder.
I don't know what that means in the
Sissy
context.
Fist Boulder. Let's say
Sisyphus was from Greek mythology, had to push a boulder up a hill every night and then watch as it rolled back down. He's the definition of futility, and he was cursed to do that for eternity.
Well, I say that Leo should have to listen to Christmas music all throughout December because he's complaining that it's happening too early.
It is.
And I agree, but he's calling in about it during December, which is when Christmas music typically plays. And I don't like Christmas music either, Leo. I agree with you. But I think that you asked me to spin the wheel, so I did, as you can plainly see. So that is what's going to have to happen. And I want to say that once you go through and you listen to all the Christmas music, you find a nice playlist on Spotify.
Got to do it again.
It's going to come up again, and it's going to show up on your top artists of 2022. I hope. And what better way to cool down in the summer than listening to a song about Santa? Brings you back to those times of chilling inside. It's snowing outside.
I mean,
Cools you
Christmas
down.
music, we all have to admit, I think that there's the nostalgia factor for a lot of people, but it is all very mediocre. I feel like it's all just in the same key. It's all just the same words. They just mixed them up a little.
You think you could do better?
There's only about 9 Christmas songs, and 7 of them are insufferable, and the other 2 are meh.
Yeah, that is true. There aren't many, and then when it's very hard to get one to stick. I feel like a lot of artists do have they may have a Christmas album, or
the only one that sticks. The only one that sticks is Mariah Carey. That's the only one that stuck. Nothing else sticks like that. That's the one. We'll never top that as a society. We'll never top that. That's the accumulation of all human invention is that song, and we're never going to do better.
Speaking of doing better, though, let's see if this next voicemail tops that one.
Let's go.
I saw this TikTok of this person making vegan tuna sushi.
Vegan tuna
Obviously,
sushi.
fish is not vegan, so I'm like, what are they doing? This motherfucker is using tomato. Tomato is not tuna. And if someone were to give me the shit and I were to take a bite of it, I would have to beat them to death. If you want to be
In
vegan,
Minecraft.
that's fine. But, you just can't veganize tuna sushi, especially with tomato.
That is weird.
No. Just stop.
How? Yeah, did they just come to that conclusion because tuna and
similar,
tomato
colored.
They both start with the letter T? Like, I know that there's a lot of plant substitutes you can have, but I don't see myself chewing on a tomato product and thinking to myself, oh, this tastes just like tuna fish. Unless there's something I'm missing. There's some special ingredient that I'm not hearing about. I don't get it. But I'm also not vegan, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. You know what's another good Christmas song?
What's that?
Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney.
You think so?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No respect to Sir Paul, but that is in the bottom tier.
It is.
It's like the worst song I've ever heard.
That is Christmas hell stuck in J.C. Penney on Christmas Eve.
That's like when I used to work at, I don't know if I can't really keep my timeline straight, but this is at least what plays out in my head when I hear that song. Is that song used to play all the time when I worked at Starbucks, like during the holidays, which is the most miserable time to work retail, is when these songs are just like punching you in the ear. And I keep thinking of like the Black Mirror Christmas special where the guy keeps like smashing the snow globe and then it just reappears and he like smashes it again. And I just hear Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time as I'm like destroying the store that I work at, and it just like appears back to normal again. And I'm just like in a loop for all eternity. That's like what I hear when I hear that song.
We got people in the chat debating this, though. Nico says Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer is so much worse.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Sleep Sign says Last Christmas is also the worst.
It's not great, but it's not the worst.
Yeah, none of them are good, though, but I don't actively hate that one. And then Nico says any song you listen to when you're working retail, you will hate.
Yeah.
But it's also, I don't know. It just... Maybe I think just when you combine like Christmas songs with working in retail, or even if you're not working in retail, you go to a store and you have to listen to it. Just the whole commodification aspect of it, and like the consume, and there's Christmas music playing. And I have to buy this, I have to buy that.
Ever encroaching. It's just like a week earlier every single year.
And it's kind of stressful, to be honest. It's like, well, I know you hear the Christmas music. It's like, well, it's time to buy all of it.
Nobody has any money anymore.
Yep, but I got to buy Christmas presents because I hear that song.
The earliest Christmas song I heard this year, I'd like to know when your guys' was. Mine was in a cab in Chicago the weekend, like 2 weekends before Thanksgiving. I was in town to see Eliza Schlesinger. It was like early November, like November 9th.
That's
I
early.
Heard some damn Christmas music in a cab.
I know like a lot of radio stations will wait till like Thanksgiving night, like after like Thanksgiving dinner, and like which I think that's appropriate. That's fine. Like that's as early as I think is okay to play that music. But yeah, like you said, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, you're steamrolling Thanksgiving. But I even heard some people say that they were hearing this stuff as early as Halloween.
That's fucked.
I mean, that is, what are we doing?
So I can't do early, but I know one year I heard a Christmas, I think it was like Jingle Bell Rock, I heard in like April, and I started openly weeping.
That like just made me sick to my stomach.
It's terrible.
That's even worse. That is the absolute bottom of the barrel Christmas song. Jingle Bell Rock. It's the monster mash of April. Christmas.
Yeah.
Evil.
Cashew in the chat here actually brings up a good point about a good Christmas song, which is anything off the Peanuts Christmas special soundtrack.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which I will agree to that. That does
those like slow piano pieces, it's very calming, relaxing, soothing.
Yeah.
It's good atmospheric stuff to have on in the background at a holiday get-together.
Yeah.
I also enjoy the Bare Naked Ladies Christmas album they did with Sarah McLachlan. That's probably my favorite. Other than that, it's like Bing Crosby, but Bing Crosby used to beat his children, so I can't really get into that as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for our voicemails on this episode. Again, our number is 312-788-7361, or you can always send us an audio file to thoughtcopspodcast@gmail.com. Ken Bone, thank you for coming back on the show, man. We're happy to have you every time. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, it was an absolute blast. Like being here with you guys. It's a great show. Just enough outrage, capped off with enough good times that I don't have to have high blood pressure when we're done.
Exactly.
We
realized
that's all we can hope for.
After doing the show for a set amount of time, we're like,
Right.
we need that chaser at the end. It just for everybody's sake. Everybody doing the show, everybody listening, we got to have that cap at the end. And I want to say to all those listening, all in the chat right now, thank you so much for listening. And thanks to those who donate over on patreon.com/thoughtcops. It means a whole hell of a lot, especially in these holiday season times.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
See you, Space Cop.